what is the strongest crypto project out there? Some people say it's projects like Sui. Why do they think Sui is so strong? Some people think it could be even better than Bitcoin because it's built by magnificent seven teams like Meta, right? It came out of Facebook. But there's a new coin that you could compare it to projects like Sui, SUI, because it's built by the teams that came out of Google. Like imagine Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, those teams built blockchains. Well, Sui and Aptos was two of them. Now I'm going to introduce you guys to a third one in this episode. Before we do so, let's have a look at the general markets and see where we're going. A lot of folks were expecting a pullback. I said we might get a small pullback, might get to like high 90s, but I'm not expecting a big flush. The reason is because of this. So we can see that basically this is the futures funding rates and it's still very green. Half of it is black, meaning it's neutral, and most of it is still green with a few reds. Once again, this is becoming really important now. I said that the only two times we get, the only one time we get those major flashes in crypto, in Bitcoin, and therefore in altcoins, is because when this chart goes very red, not just red, but very red. Like this is 0.14, right? The funding rate for longs is 0.014. Sometimes it can get to like 10x bigger, it can get to like 0.1 something rather than 0.01. That means everyone's going long and it's going very long. So therefore, then the market makers, they crash the market, right? So for example, like what happens on Bitcoin, as I was saying, is that, and on Ethereum, is that at the start of a new leg up, basically it does not pull back. It does not pull back, right? One, because everyone's still trying to short it, right? And two, because if it pulls back, then it gives you a chance to get back on board again, right? If you missed buying down here, you get back on board, right? You can basically buy the dip. They don't allow you to buy the dip. Say for example here, right? I was calling for 94K. Nobody believed it. I kept on saying 94K, 94K, 94K is my target. And then we had this here, play of a double top, and then big thrust move, no pullback. Big thrust move, big thrust move, right? Even then, still consolidating upwards, then big thrust move, right? We already hit like 100K and then started having these pullbacks. So right now, we're still at that stage where we could just have one more thrust move, at least to something like 111, 112, and then pull back, if it is going to be a double top. The pullbacks here, as I said, most likely we'd just get to high 90s, like 99, 98, right? Because there's no reason to do a big pullback here. And same thing we're seeing on Ethereum as well. Ethereum, right now, basically, I was giving big warnings saying Ethereum has bottomed. Ethereum has bottomed against Bitcoin as well. Big altcoin season coming up. This is a big U-shape, like the bottom of Bitcoin in 2022, end of 2022. Boom, no pullback, hardly any pullback. And then might not do any real pullbacks into the 3,000 area. And I explained why 3,000 is a key, right, area because of this big red trend line here. And now we can finally talk about this big new crypto project that not many people actually know about, and it's actually backed by people from places like Google and Facebook. Now, so here's the thing. Before we get to that though, first let's answer the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo use? Well, Pablo uses this exchange that's non-KYC. So that means even the exchange can't see who you are, right? So basically, that means the IRS can't see you, the tax office can't see you, the CIA, FBI, nobody can see you, total privacy. That's why I made a deal with them, the Pablo link right here. Deposit and receive up to $200 US, right? Just by depositing. Trade and win up to 35,000 US, right? All these great prizes like Tesla Model 3, Rolex watch, Apple Vision Pro, just by trading. And the campaign ends June 4th. So it's basically limited time only. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, then the link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. But if you're watching this on some other platforms, such as this one, right? Don't worry, just go to my profile page, click on my profile page, and then click on the stand link right there, and it should be the first deal that pops up, because this is a great deal. First deal that pops up. Okay, let's get back to the markets. But remember, folks, only on the Pablo link. So the what's the project I've been talking about all this time? Well, it is basically called Kita, and it's backed by the CEO, the former CEO of Google. Now his name's Eric Schmidt. Oh, his name's Eric Schmidt. He's quite famous, and this is the chart. So we can see right now it actually launched very kind of quietly recently. We can see that right now the total market cap, or FDV, is 416 million, 1 billion coins, and only something like 166 million coins have been released so far. And you might say, oh, Pablo, it's already 100, 100, it's already 400 million. That's a large project. But I'm saying this is a project that could rival something like Sui, because Sui was a project from Facebook team, and this is a project backed by the guy who was former CEO of Google. He's the lead investor. He was the lead investor, Eric Schmidt. And then, it's like the coin that it's actually a layer 1 coin, right? It excels in stuff like it's built for, its main shtick is that can do 10 million transactions per second. It's trying to compete with, Visa or Swift. It's trying to compete with Swift. That's the whole shtick of XRP. People are saying XRP is going to replace Swift. Well, this is actually the coin that wants to replace Swift and compete with Swift. So the thing about it is that, oh, by the way, I'm not sponsored by this coin. I wish I was. Boy, I wish I was sponsored by this coin, but I'm not sponsored by this coin. In fact, I kind of missed it, even though I had good friends telling me about it. See, here's the thing. In the bear market, it launched very quietly on March the 5th, and nobody believed them for like 5 days, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 days, it stayed at 1 cent. Here's 1 cent, right? 1 cent. Now it's at 40 cents, up 40x. The reason why nobody believed it, I remember at the time, was people were like, no way Eric Schmidt was the lead investor on your project. And they had to spend 2 days to convince Eric Schmidt to follow the Kita, to follow Kita on Twitter. And once people saw that, that's when they started believing it, and it took off. I originally saw this project. The reason why I missed out on it was because I originally saw this project. People were like, Eric Schmidt's involved. I was like, no way. I looked at it. Eric Schmidt was actually following the project at the time, but it says, watch this space because it's coming. It's gonna be like, it's gonna launch soon. Like, what soon? I saw it like 3 months before it launched, so I didn't know what time it was gonna launch. So I went to sleep on the project, and then I thought, okay, well, these big projects, they're gonna launch at $1 billion or $500 million value, right? Which is what it is now. But no, it actually launched at $10 million value, at $10 million, right? Which was an amazing bargain at the time. But this was like during mid-March, and nobody was paying attention, including myself. I was like all wrapped up in the trade war, right? Folks in my Discord will know this. I was just analyzing this trade war all day, seeing where this is gonna go, because this was gonna be massive impact on everything else. And look at this. So it actually then went to from 1 cent, did 20x to 20 cents, pulled back to 10 cents, and it was basically doing a bull flag. This is a log chart, a bull flag, when we were in a bear market. The bull flag pulled down to 10 cents, 9 cents, and down here 10 cents, 11 cents. This was even by May the 5th. May the 5th, it was still dipping down. So where is that? So let's have a look compared to the Bitcoin chart. And this is why people miss stuff like this, including myself. I must say, I was buying some other stuff like Fartcoin, like Virtues, but I missed out on this one. That was a big miss. So basically, it launched on May the 5th, which was on this day, right? And May the 5th, Bitcoin closed on 90K. It was a bearish retest of this 92K resistance, broke down, and then came down here, just kept on going down sideways. On May the 5th, right? May the 5th was here, right? By May the 5th. So it basically launched during that period, and it did a bull flag whilst Bitcoin, let's see, April 7th was the low. What was it doing on April the 7th? April the 7th was here. Yeah, it made its low here. And I mean, that's still a very bullish looking chart, because by then you were looking at this. I have no excuses, by the way. I knew about it. People were telling me about it. I missed out. I think people were telling me about it after it already made this kind of a big move. But it was still cheap. It was still 4x cheaper back then. So, and you noticed last couple of days, Bitcoin pulled back a little. Crypto, altcoins pulled back a little, but this coin actually did quite well, right? So what about the fundamentals, Pablo? What about the fundamentals of this coin? So now let's have a look. We'll look at the fundamentals of this coin. Basically, let's see. It is built for very fast transaction, as I was saying, and 10 million transactions per second. It mainly focuses, try to cater to real world assets and stable coins. Like when you read what this coin's about, you get the idea that it's basically like if someone from Google or someone from Facebook or Microsoft, like Bill Gates, try to build this coin, a blockchain layer one. That's what it'd be like. By the way, even though it's a layer one, it did not launch on its own layer one. It actually launched on Base. So the coin is on Arrow. Is on Arrow. That's the largest exchange on Base. So that's where one could get it. Again, I'm not involved with the coin. I wish I was. Boy, I wish I was, man. So now basically it uses proof of stake, but it's something called delegated proof of stake. And it has a built-in mechanism for KYC and AML. KYC means know your customer laws, which I just explained to you guys. AML means anti-money laundering laws, which I just explained to you guys just like 5 minutes earlier, because Bitunix, the exchange I was talking about, does not have KYC laws, know your customer laws, which means you need to hand your ID when you use this Kita, not talking about Bitunix, but Kita, right? You need to hand in your ID. So they just to use the blockchain. It's like if you use Swift or if you use Visa or MasterCard, they know exactly who you are. They know where you live. They know what your address is. They know your credit history. They know everything about you. So Kita is built, you could even say it's not really blockchain friendly. It's not really decentralized. So whereas Bitunix, in comparison, I'm just making a comparison, Bitunix, you don't need any of the KYC, you don't need any of the ID laws. That's the exchange I was talking about. And Kita, even though it's backed by Eric Schmidt, but it sounds exactly like the kind of project that a Google CEO or a Google founder would do. Look at this. It's basically super fast because it competes with, wants to compete with Swift and XRP. But why is the Swift so fast? How come Bitcoin's not fast? How come Ethereum's not fast? Well, because Bitcoin is decentralized. It's proof of work. So you need all these computers to churn through and do all these, approve of the transactions, solve these math puzzles. Basically, Kita says, screw that. We don't need any of that. All we need is basically not just proof of stake, but delegated proof of stake. They delegate who can actually do the staking and the proof of stake. That's even more centralized than Solana, even much more centralized than Ethereum. Ethereum has proof of stake. This thing has delegated proof of stake. That's how centralized we're talking about. And then even has KYC and AML built into the blockchain. Like what Ethereum's trying to do is kind of meet the government regulations halfway by creating something like ENS. That's another coin I'm bullish on. Ethereum naming systems, which is basically, if you want to, you sort of have an ID address on chain. If you want to tell people, you go, hey, I'm called pabloheman.eth or whatever it's called. I'm called ericschmidt.eth. And if you want to find me, I own that wallet. You can sell that wallet. It may no longer belong to you, but that's kind of the ETH way of identifying yourself online, which is you don't have to. But this thing forces you to identify yourself online. But anyways, in 2023, Eric Schmidt was the lead investor, and they raised $75 million, right, from this project. Well, at a valuation of $75 million. Right now, it's still only $419 million. So 6x above its 2023 valuation. If you compare this to Sui, if you compare this to XRP, which which is trying to compete with. Kita essentially tries to compete with XRP and Swift, then it's still, you would say that's still undervalued. For it to go to like 2-3 billion, that's still entirely possible. But then again, we've seen celebrity launches in the past and it didn't work. Like that Melania coin, I got sucked into that Melania coin. I thought, there was going to be like the Trump coin. Turns out it's Trump's divorce coin. He basically wanted to get divorced from Melania and says, okay, you have your own coin, you cash out, you sell for $60 million, but don't ask me for any alimony, whatever, if we get divorced. So basically, Trump kept on protecting his own coin, the Trump coin, and he gets, invites people to go to the White House for dinner if you are the top 220 holders, but he doesn't invite anybody, doesn't do any promotions for Melania coin. So it's become even more obvious. My theory was, Melania is kind of like the divorce gift to Melania Trump. Anyways, that's just my gripe. So thank you guys for tuning in, and none of this is financial advice. I'm just sharing with you guys something I found. Catch you guys next episode. Bye bye.